Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host, HC, and with me are.
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
And today we're taking a bit of a break from the How to Train a Dragon, the Hidden World talk that's been going on for the last couple of episodes. We still have a lot to say, I think, but let's relax a bit. Let's just chill back and talk about something fun, the real life. Okay, that's not really fun, but let's do something fun with it. Let's see how many times How to Train a Dragon reflected something that happened to us in real life. Do you guys have any cases like this, or am I the only one?
I have a peg leg.
I have a father who got killed by a dragon.
I have this as well, and I've also raised a real dragon.
That
And I have
the last
sat on a
one.
dragon and I can verify what Tough Nut said.
What did Tough Nut say?
I believe it was in Riders or Defenders where they were playing the Well, You Know What I've Heard game, and Rough Nut actually says, I hear if you sit on Terrible Terror, you can breathe fire out of your. And then Hiccup says, whoa, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? And Tufton says, I thought we were playing the Well I've Heard game. By the way, Terrible Terror thing, totally true.
Okay, thank you for that insight. I'm glad to know that there are actual dragons here, so I'll go hunt one after I'm done with this. Hunt down one, I mean to raise it as a pet around to places.
Oh no, there's already a
Not
guy out
actually
there
hunt.
that's killed him all HC. It's too late.
Well, shit.
Met him, had to fight him. It was a whole big thing. Rush was there too, actually.
Yeah.
Rush was there, and you did nothing.
Well, of course I did nothing. What am I supposed to do?
Well, maybe fight it, protect the dragon or something, be a productive, good human being.
I couldn't.
Something I can't really say for myself, but still.
I didn't want to make you feel worse about not being there. So I just said, hey, I'll make HC feel better by not doing anything.
Yeah, right now what you're doing is putting the blame on me, which granted I'm used to because of some people, but still, Okay, anyway, joking aside, I think I want to believe some of the stuff you said is not true, or most of the stuff you said is not true, but sometimes fictional work can reflect something that you're going through in real life, and I bet How to Train a Dragon is no different, even though it's set in Viking times and there are dragons and stuff. So does anyone have something that they want to share with us about this? A real one, not a made up one that's supposed to be dark humor.
Well, if I have to. So I got.
You know what? You want me to start to
Well, no,
read you?
I'll go first. Cause
Okay.
mine is I have two. One is not too dark, and the other one is also very lighthearted as well.
Okay.
And a third kind of, but that's it. So okay, I'm just gonna put it this way. So, and I'm sure a lot of people, listeners, and maybe even you two have had this happen. But I was bullied in middle school, and then I got
Yeah.
over it. Like that's honestly all I can say about it. It wasn't. I didn't. The differences come to where I didn't really have to prove myself. I just stopped caring. And then honestly, so the second part, the lighthearted part, I went from really short to really tall. And that actually kind of helped with the overcoming bullying. I had nothing to be afraid of anymore. I was taller than most of the people, and I was like, I don't really care anymore. Um, and so those were hand in hand. Well, in How to Train Your Dragon, they weren't really. He kind of overcame the bullies, and then he got tall. But I'm just putting a joke out there because yeah, I'm 6'3" now. Of course, Hiccup didn't grow that much, but still, um, it's funny just to look back and see. It's like I always wanted to be tall, and now I am. And so, what do I do? It's like, okay, great. I can reach higher things, or I could use a ladder. Sorry, Wolf. I didn't mean to bring up fresh foods.
Fair enough.
Wow.
um,
We'll get to that story in a bit.
yeah.
I have a joke for that one, so we'll go from there.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
just the third quick
For now,
one.
just wonder.
My girlfriend is blonde. That's all I can say.
Well,
So
uh, does she wear red shirt?
um, from time to time, one of her favorite colors is a dark red.
So she's the How to Train Dragon 2 Astrid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The real test, has she ever said it's a trap?
No, for the love of.
No, but she's called me a dork, which I strongly believe Ashid would do that to Hiccup.
Didn't she
agree.
actually? I think she actually called them a dog. I have like a vague memory of her doing that, but I'm not sure if it's something I saw online or if it's canon.
If she has, I would definitely buy it. If she hasn't, she will at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's guaranteed she would probably do it.
A lot of people were
The chief
writing
of
fan
dogs.
fictions. Oh my god, that is perfect. So
That people write it in fan fictions or what I just said.
no, the chief of dork. That sounds too good to be true.
Okay.
That's honestly, those were the ones that I had. I didn't really look too deep into the bad things. My dad hasn't been killed by a dragon. No, my mom has not been away for the first 20 years of my life.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. I honestly have like I know I'm thinking of like the bad stuff. And I didn't, as HC will show you guys. I didn't go as far into the episodes. I just went into the movies. So if there are similarities through episodes, I may remember them during the rest of this cast, but I'll probably not bring them up unless it's the end and it's another short one. So HC.
Okay, we still have. So me next. Okay. So let's get the small stuff out of the way. One, people told me I'm kind of like Hiccup, and I can see what they mean. I mean, a bit of an nasally voice, a dry, sarcastic sense of humor, which sometimes could be funny. Most of the time, not, as proven in this podcast. But hey, I get my hits every once in a while. My best friend is my pet, not a dragon, but a dog. A dog which I call a useless mammal because, dogs aren't reptiles, so you have to go with what you got. Let me think. Well, I guess in terms of parent relationship, I have more in common with my mom than my dad. Now, I love my dad and everything, but he kind of like Suki, he had this problem of seeing stuff in a new way that he doesn't know, like Stoic with the dragons. And I actually managed to change his perspective a bit. So that's something. And in terms of an actual story, I refer you to a Defenders of Berk episode. And it's kind of sad that I rewarning in order to prepare for this, and I forgot its name, but it's the episode with the Dragonwood.
The Dragon Root. Okay.
Oh. Anyway, so just a small background for this. At the time, I was at my old job, and I was about to be. I was just a few days away from a promotion, because I was like in a small division that separate from the rest of the job, but so we had to have some sort of a leader. There's the big boss, but we needed a leader to watch over us when we actually did our job. So the guy who was the quote unquote leader was about to quit. So I had a few days of training to be the new leader, and there was a new guy coming in as well. So the guy who was about to quit and the new guy always got into a fight when we had to do, clean up the offices or just do the job and everything. So, and because I was about to take over, I was in a trial period. I needed to sort this out, and I'm not going to cut around the bush. These two were idiots when it came to actually working together with each other, not necessarily teamwork in general. But this guy does this guy does this, no one dares to listen. They actually got into a physical fight one day, and I'm not sure if I should tell this, but one of them actually opened what was it, the hose you use to put out fires in case in case one starts up. One of them actually used that against the other, and as the leader, I had to take care of this, because then the boss comes to me as to why they don't work together. And Hiccup's thing, Hiccup's dilemma in that episode really reminded me of that, and I still stand that, even if it's not the best episode, especially now that Race to the Edge is a thing, then man, this is the episode I'm most identified with, because that was my life at one moment, note to note. Yeah, I kind of went off there, but
Well, I know there's a lot to do that, a lot to digest there, but the very end you said something that honestly, of course I would get this out of it, but you said the episode I most identify with. So tune in next week when we decide which episode we identify as.
Yeah. Well, I just said mine, so I get the week. Awesome.
I'm running to the fire rooms because everything's going wrong.
Is everything going wrong because the eggs explode?
I'll have to ask my girlfriend to say that.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so that's my story, and that's my story of how I relate to a certain event that happened in the How to Train a Dragon universe. Wolf, you're up.
Oh, like Hiccup, I really hate walking on my leg right now.
Okay.
Go back to Rush's comment of how I don't know how to use the ladder. The ladder wasn't the issue. It was that the board I was standing on top of the ladder, was not nailed down at all, and I was on a balcony, Rush.
Oh,
that wasn't
wow.
fun.
Oh. Yikes.
Fortunately, the balcony wasn't that high up off the ground, and I didn't actually fall all the way through, but having your leg fall up against a 2x6 and just scrape across it as it goes down, not fun. Very hurt. So I know how it feels to have a bum leg. No, actually not quite. Joking aside, there's not much that I would say is really similar to the movies in any way, shape, or form for me in my life. I guess I've talked about in the past how I know what it's like to have separated parents, because I have. And I think that's about the only thing really that I could say is similar, is that my parents did separate when I was very young, and I was much younger than Hiccup. Well, actually, no.
Hiccup was a few days old, probably.
Yeah, wasn't thinking about that part. Yeah, his parents separated when he was much younger than I was, but not by, choice. Mine were by choice, I guess you would say. So,
yeah, obviously.
Unlike Hiccup, I still did see my dad from time to time. So, some similarities, definitely some major differences. One wasn't kidnapped by a dragon.
Well,
fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure.
Yeah, imagine actually going to see your dad a few years later and finding out he's this badass dragon defender or something.
That would not.
Dragons
be
exist, some.
Sure.
Okay, so we each, you know, some some things in our life that connect to How to Train Your Dragon. So Wolf kind of started this, like trying to like maybe comparing the actual stories to how to the situations in the Dragon universe, and how did you handle a certain situation compared to the characters. I guess I should go first because I have the most to say in this category,
Mm-hmm.
considering the exact considering the stories. Well, first of all, I just want to say that Rick gives Hiccup the tips in the episode about give them 2 axes or 2 maces and let them battle to the death. And Hiccup asks him, "Is there a less permanent option?" I'm like, "Let it be permanent. As if I can get rid of those idiots, the better." Like, I was not as sympathetic. I can admit to that. But outside of it, when I actually talked to my boss about it, could a very unstoic approach of doing nothing. Like, they are your responsibility at the end of the day. Work it out. I'll work it out. I'll work it out. I, you know, kind of like I tried to get them to work together, but without them really knowing they're working together. Like, you know, this guy cleans this part, this guy cleans that part, this guy does this part, you know, this kind of thing. And but sadly, or maybe not, I'm not sure. But I didn't have to put up with this for a long time because, like, the week afterwards, the guy who quit list. So I just kind of killed the time until one of them had to leave for his own reasons. So that's a bit different. But overall, you know, I did have to version of what to do, how to do it, try not to use violence, and try and get them to work together without actually working together. And of course, the fourth guy that was there did not. He was the fish legs of this story. He just talked all the time about how much they hate each other and fight with each other, but he really didn't do anything outside of his own part.
Classic fish legs.
Mm-hmm. And when I think about it, he also ate a lot of rocks because, you know, that's what people do when they are bored. I had weird coworkers if it wasn't obvious enough, and luckily none of them understands English, so none of them can understand this. Okay,
If you would
so
like to
that's
translate this
my
episode.
no. Well, you know, depends on what language. Let's talk about that. Anyway, you guys' turn if you got anything to say on this category.
I mean, I can't say like how did I handle it? Like
Not
if I'm
much to
being
handle.
yeah, really, there's not much to handle. Hey, I got a girlfriend who's
Yeah.
blonde. How do I handle it?
I mean, we
I
could
don't
talk
make
about
her
that,
mad.
but
Okay,
that's
you
your
know
hole
what?
you're digging, Rush.
uh, um, I gotta go.
something, something tells me she does know English, so that's don't have my advantage.
It wouldn't really work out if she didn't, because as much as I'd love to learn a new language, I don't know. I barely know Spanish. I know a few words in like a bunch of languages because I have obviously the other Discord server with a bunch of multilingual people. Um, and yeah, I could. I mean, maybe once I start my job, I'll self teach myself a language, but who knows. So let's see, what was the other thing? Bullying. How did I handle that? I've been kind of silently thinking about this. It's like you think that bullying is a very big topic, and how you deal with it is very different. But it has been. I just turned, so for the viewers, I just turned 22 on the 4th of July. And it's been 10 years since I was bullied, roughly 10 years. I honestly cannot remember much about it. How I just, I mean, you know, it wasn't the worst cases of bullying, it was more verbal abuse. It wasn't actually as physical as it could have been. I was in a very good school district, you know, with rich kids. So of course, rich kids usually resort to words rather than physical abuse. But it, I just put up with it because I couldn't really think of anything to go through. I had nothing on me until I grew. Like again, and how do I handle growing up? I rubbed it in my brother's face because I'm the tallest sibling, and I'm the youngest too. So that also makes me feel better. But it was just me kind of waiting it out, and also really just focusing on what I wanted to do, or what I enjoyed. So I like to play video games, and I still do. And so when I ever had that, I would just come home. I would do my homework so I could play my video games. It was like, I mean, you know, that's where you get to the whole point of, then you could use that as the argument for, you know, those parents that don't like video games. Well, it's an escape for the bullying that they're going through or something like that. That's another another discussion topic. And then
On that note, look to Wolf and Mine's 13 Reasons Why Outcast episode whenever we get around to record that. Anyway, back to this.
yeah, um, and so, you know, like I said, I also focus on what I could, like, just doing stuff better that I am at. So like I became really good at math and science. Like I became the smart kid of the football because I still played football, and of course once I got taller, I really played football. But um, before that happened, like the I wasn't, you know, obviously the star player. I still wasn't even when I got taller, because even though I grew taller, I still retained. I wasn't used to being fast, and so I wasn't fast really. Um, until I worked on it. But so I got better at school. I focused on school in terms of individual subjects. Now, if you ask my mom, she'll say, "Yeah, really, you focused on school?" Because I didn't, and I still didn't through all my university. I didn't really ever study for things, because most of it came naturally to me. And so I just kind of focused on being the smart kid of football, and that continued on for when, you know, I was doing like in high school, because then when, like, you know, I'd be doing the tutoring and stuff, and they're like, "Oh wow," it's like, "What are you doing tutoring?" It's like, if I'm not good at football, I might as well do something else. Um, and it's not that I wasn't good at football; it's just that, like, I was always good at catching, but I wasn't ever fast enough to be good. So moving on to the height thing, that's kind of how I handled the height. Like I got taller, and so I kind of focused more on. I focused a little too much on catching, just like to overcompensate when I was shorter, and so I would always make the great catches and stuff like that. But I was never fast, and so but handling getting taller, I kind of was able to focus a little bit more on it. And of course, it was around my senior year, towards the end of my football career, anyway, that I was able to kind of get some playing time because I grew up between my 10th and 11th grade year as well. So I didn't really have much time to get better at that stuff. But for those of you who still have to go through growth spurt, if you get taller, I have no idea how you should handle it because everybody's in different situations.
That was the
Okay,
hashtag
that's
humble
it.
brag portion for Rush.
Oh, well, you'll get a humble brag later. Trust me on that. From my side, anyway. Um, Wolf, do you have anything to say?
Not really. My
Okay,
situation is
because
different enough that there's nothing really to say I handled it similar or anything of that nature.
well, I guess continue and so if you don't mind, Vash said with because I went to bullying as well. It's what do you expect? What do you expect? A chubby kid would call you expect. Of course, let's bully him. And the fact that he used to play Sonic the Hedgehog on breaks on this DS is also kind of an easy target for some reason. but the thing is that remember when I said people over here don't know English, so I can say whatever the hell I want about them and they won't understand? Yeah. Those video games, which Russia said are escapism, and yeah, I use that to escape as well. But I also got a very good English from them. Not to the same level that right now that I can talk to you guys, if it's on a good level at all. Some people may say it's not, but I knew my English well enough that when a final came along and we had to take it, I was the only student in the classroom who actually got an A+. And then I did the very non-hiccup thing of going to all of those who bullied me and say, fuck you, I beat you at something. Come at me now. Like, I would just taunt them in English and they will have no idea what I'm saying. So, yeah, I had a very hiccup way of handling the bullying, which I had something to keep
saying
I had
fuck
something
you.
to keep my time and learn from that. You know, I had the video games that taught me English. He had Toothless to teach him how to train dragons. But he chose the humble brag part. I chose the I'm going to brag at this until the day you die. Oh yeah, I was very different back then.
Yeah, I
Way
went for
different.
the humble brag. HC just went straight up for the fuck you.
That's me, going straight to the point. Well, at least I used to be that. I'm not a. Yeah, I can still be like that, but depends, I guess. Oh well, those people didn't mess with me afterwards because they knew I had the power of saying something to them, and they wouldn't know what it is. Anyway, okay, next topic. More me and Rush again because because Wolf pretty much confirmed that his parents got divorced before Hiccup's parents were separated, which means it happened as soon as he was born. I think.
No, not as soon as I was born. Like I was,
Yeah,
but
I know.
well
I
before
just
the
you just
franchise.
yeah. No, I just said it because you say I think I was younger when it happened to him. And then we're like, yeah, Hiccup was maybe a few days old, maybe a month. So yeah,
That was meant as I was when I was younger, so I was definitely technically I was younger than Hiccup because Hiccup didn't even exist.
well, was it before the books?
I don't know actually. When did the first book come out?
It was 2003.
Yes. Well before.
So yeah, so both Hiccups didn't exist back then. Okay, so you get that. You get that.
I don't
You
think
know
that's
something
such a
in
great
terms of,
achievement, but
Yeah. For reference, I was 8 years old when they first separated, and then either 9 or 10, close to 10, I think, when they finally divorced. So, yeah, definitely
and
way
how
younger.
and the first book came out when that came out. You well,
What do you mean?
when the first How to Train a Dragon book came out, how old were you then?
Ooh, 2003. $13.
13. Okay. So that means okay, yeah, like a few years afterwards, you read this book and you're like, hey, this okay, no. In terms of me and the story I started out with, like that that happened before the episode, because I remember when I first saw it and I was like, man, I identify with you, dude. Don't give up. You'll get through this, because you're a character in an animated series that where all the plots need to be resolved at one point, especially the filler ones. So, but I remember just going home from work and watching this episode, and I was like, yes, thank you. Somebody understands me. Somebody understands. And then I went back to work, and I'm like, well, God damn it, I still need to put up with this. I'm like, I wish a few days were like minutes, because that episode happened in the time span of a few days. So like I was like, I hope everything will just be like 22 minutes, and then I'll be done with this, and then he'll quit, and we can move on with our lives. I mean, seriously, people, stop. Why did I even think about this episode idea? I pretty much bought myself war flashbacks for my job, the old job. Well,
you're the one who writes
this was
scripts.
your idea.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This was my idea, and I'm happy at myself. But hey, whatever. It's been, how long has it been? It's been around 4 years since then. So yeah. Majoring in film school all the way more preferable. Yeah, so this is how, so that event actually happened relatively before the episode. As far as for the bullying go, the books were out, I can guarantee you that much, but it was around a few years before the movie. Because when the first movie came out, I was in high school already, and high school was a pretty good place for the most part. Okay, Rash, what about you?
So, I have absolutely no idea. No. So
You became British for a second.
I didn't know about the books. So I'm not going to factor those. I didn't know about the books until well after I saw the second movie, which was the very first. Remember, if we go all the way back, that was my first step into the fandom, because I may have seen the first movie first, but I did not remember it. I didn't get into the fandom until I saw the second movie. I'm just putting that out there. So going purely based off that, bullying definitely happened before the movies, because like I said, that was 10 years ago roughly, and the movie came out in 2010, so we can put that around before, at least it started before, it didn't end, or it may have ended before. Again, I can't remember, it's been so long. And then let's see, Getting Taller happened before the second movie came out as well, because that came out 2014, my senior year of high school, and I had already grown up by then. And then Girlfriend was, so that's where you get weird. So at the end of How to Train Your Dragon 1, like again, once I haven't seen it, but you have the ambiguous is Astrid and Hiccup boyfriend girlfriend, and this again is well before Race to the Edge or comes out, and so you're like, are they or aren't they? Before the second movie, of course, we know that writers and defenders are they play around this idea, but still, with the second movie,
you know what? For the sake of the argument, let's say that they officially became boyfriend and girlfriend when they were 19.
Okay.
Like Race to the Edge, let us to believe. For the sake of the argument,
absolutely fine. Either way, I mean, me and my girlfriend got together in 2012, so that was before the movie came out anyway, and we were both, 16, I think. I know the year, I don't know how old I was, which is weird.
You just turned 22.
Yeah, so 6 years.
You just turned 22,
16.
So okay.
So yeah, Yeah, so I guess everything in my life happened before, not before it may have happened in the franchise, but before I came into the franchise as a fan.
Okay. Legit. Anything else you want to add to this kind of personal, kind of weird discussion?
No.
I
Yeah.
Okay, but I just let I think we can just sum this thing up that sometimes the thing that make the thing that makes us feel connected to a certain franchise is how well we can relate to it. So the fact that we can actually talk about how this franchise connected to various points of our lives or various aspects of our lives is is actually is a pretty fun thing to do, and it just shows you how real this franchise could get. People can identify with other stuff from it, and take. So that's a sign of a good franchise to me.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. It definitely makes things more impressionable and more, in a way, enjoyable because you can connect more with the characters or with what's happening, even if it's not exactly the same. You know, dragons are involved, obviously. Dragons aren't involved in real life yet. Maybe one day. Until that time, though, it definitely makes
Yeah.
things more enjoyable and more fun to watch.
There were
Again, because you
dragons when
can
I was an
connect
old
more.
man.
Mm. One day I might get to say that.
Yeah. There when I was a middle-aged man.
Yeah, exactly.
I love all the memes we can actually make with that sentence. But yeah, actually, one last thing to kind of close this off. One of the things I really liked about the second movie, which and a lot of people actually told me this is not just a meeting. A lot of people told me this that they felt that as well. Like when they were around my age watching it. Mm, this really made them less scared of thinking where they need to take their lives in, because the age of 20 when the movie came out, I was 20, so a lot of my friends around the time were also 20, 21-ish, and people had that concern of what am I doing now, because now I'm an adult, even though adult counts as 18 and up, but still. Um, so again, the fact that a lot of people walked out of this movie thinking, I identify with this guy's conflict of where I need to take my life. How am I supposed to do this? So the expectations people have of me now. And again, the fact that an animated movie and a movie in general can that in that level, and create a discussion like we have right now about those things. This just goes to show you how great this franchise is, in my opinion, and that's one of the reasons I want to make this episode. It helps us celebrate how good How to Train Your Dragon is. That's my point of view, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think on that positive note, that's it for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you. Is there any event in your life that How to Train Your Dragon somewhat replicated or was similar to? If you want to share this with us, you can do this in the following ways. One, you can leave a comment on the YouTube page, obviously. Two, you can find us on Tumblr, where we are known as the Berkcast Team. Three, you can do this on Twitter, where we are known as Berkcast Team. And I think the most comfortable one is that we are all on the How to Train Dragon Discord server. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Rush.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.